temporary, temporary, temporary. The word temporary is an adjective that means lasting for a limited period of time or serving as a substitute in a particular situation. It's commonly used to describe jobs, contracts, relationships, and even weather conditions. For example, I'm working on a temporary basis until they hire someone full-time, or this rain will pass soon. The sunshine is just temporary. One special note about its usage is that temporary can imply something impermanent or lacking stability. So it's often used in situations where things might not last long. The Smiths are moving into a temporary apartment while their permanent home is being renovated. Hey, I'm so glad we decided to rent that temporary place. It's really convenient for us, said Sarah. The company will provide all necessary equipment and personnel on a temporary basis until the new facility is operational. So you want to know about something that exists for a limited time or period? Okay, think of it like this. Imagine you're at an event, and they have a special tent set up just for the weekend. It's there because they need it only until the event is over, not permanently on the site, but also not packed away in storage. That's kind of what we're talking about. Main characteristics are that it starts and ends within a specific time frame. And it's not meant to be around forever. Some people call this type of situation short-term or seasonal, which means you can think of similar concepts like summer jobs or holiday decorations. They come in, do their thing for a bit, and then go away when the time is up. This type of setup is often used for events, projects, or even just a specific need that only exists during a particular time. Trigger, trigger, trigger. So, let's talk about the word trigger. In English, it can be both a noun and a verb, which means it has different functions depending on how we use it. As a noun, trigger typically refers to something that causes an action or reaction, like a gun trigger that makes it shoot. But as a verb, to trigger means to set off or cause something to happen, often in a surprising or unexpected way, like someone's emotional response being triggered by a particular memory. Now, you might be thinking, but what about when people say, that joke was going to trigger him? That's actually an example of the noun usage, referring to something that causes a strong reaction or emotion, often in a negative way. Just remember, if someone says they're going to trigger something or someone, it usually means they're warning you about potentially sensitive content. Here are 3 examples of how to use the word trigger in different contexts. In a formal setting such as a court of law, you might say, the judge ruled that the defendant's lawyer was allowed to present evidence that could trigger a recall of the key witness, which would then allow for a new trial to be scheduled. This usage implies that something will set off or initiate a chain reaction. In this case, a series of events leading to a new trial. The context is serious and official. In a casual conversation with friends, you might say, I saw a post on social media that just triggered me. Someone said they were only going to eat salads for the next month and I'm already craving pizza. Here, the usage implies that something, in this case, the post, set off an emotional response or reaction. The context is relaxed and social. In a business or academic setting, you might say, the new policy has been implemented to trigger a review of all existing contracts, which will help us identify any areas where we need to make adjustments to meet changing market conditions. This usage implies that something, in this case, the new policy, sets off or initiates an action or process. The context is professional and focused on organizational development. So, you want to know about this concept? Well, think of it like a specific memory or experience that can affect your emotions or behaviors when you're reminded of it. It's kind of like having a strong association with something. So if you see, hear, or even smell something related to that experience, it can bring back all the feelings and reactions from before. This can happen without you even realizing it, and it might influence how you think or act in response. Similar ideas are about having a conditioned response or a learned behavior that's linked to a particular stimulus. It's like having a shortcut in your brain that connects one thing to another. Often unconsciously, people use this concept in psychology and therapy to understand why we react certain ways to specific situations or memories, and how we can work with them to change our behaviors or emotions. Unify. 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 Let's talk about the word unify. So, unify is a verb, which means it's an action word that shows what someone or something does. In common usage, unify usually means to bring people, things, or ideas together into one group or system, often by eliminating differences and creating a sense of unity or oneness. For example, you might say the new government aimed to unify the country after years of civil war. Or, the team's leader worked hard to unify her players before the big game. The key idea is that unify involves combining separate things into one cohesive whole, often with a sense of purpose or shared goal. One special note about its usage is that unify can also imply a certain level of force or coercion, especially if the unification process doesn't involve everyone's willing participation. For instance, the dictator unified the country under his rule by crushing opposition. So, it's essential to consider the context in which you use unify to convey the right meaning and tone. The mayor's speech last night was remarkable. She called on all citizens to unify behind a common vision for the city's future. In casual conversations, people might use the word unify like this: "Can you help me unify my digital files from last year so I can clean out some space on my computer?" Meanwhile, in academic circles, researchers have been studying ways to unify different theoretical models of economic development, with promising results that could revolutionize our understanding of global growth patterns. So, you want to know about unify? Well, imagine taking lots of different things that seem unrelated and making them all part of something bigger and more complete together. That's basically what unify means. It's like taking pieces of a puzzle and fitting them together to create a whole picture. When something or someone is unified, it means they're working together in harmony, sharing the same goals, values, or ideas. Think of a team that comes together after a big argument to work towards a common objective. That's kind of what unify is all about.